Hi, this is Maikona Spokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. I want to deal with some personal battles that pastors go through that the congregations may not know about. Some personal battles that pastors may go through that may not be known to their congregations. And these are type of things that pastors go through in their quietness, and they go through in their lives, they go through in their families as well. And this type of things may not be known to the congregation, but yet the pastor is battling with these things, and nobody can help, or nobody come in to help, because majority of these things are actually not known by the congregation itself. And these are the things that we want to deal with today, and want to give advices as well on how to then deal with this if you are faced with as a pastor. And that's the reason why we want to address this topic. And this topic is very, very advisory in nature, and I hope that it will help some of the individuals that are going through this. The first thing that I want to speak about today that is generally a challenge that pastors are going through, and people may not know about that pastors going through this, is what we call sick or infirmed spouse. Sickness of a spouse, or infirmed spouse, or somebody who is having a partner who is sick, or a husband or wife who is sick and battling with this challenge throughout in their lives. And this is a challenge that one may not know that it is so difficult, especially when you are a pastor, because you're going through pain, and a pain that is not easy actually just to take it away. Because when you're having your spouse going through pain and they are sick all the time, one is sometimes you feel like you can take the pain away from her or from him and take the pain and carry it to for that particular spouse. Or all else, sometimes you feel like you can carry this pain together with them, because it is disturbing as actually when you are having a sick spouse. One is because they also, you need to carry them through, because there are burdens in the family that they may not be able to do. There are things that they may not be able to do. There are places that they may not be able to do. So therefore, your life generally as a pastor may revolve around your spouse as well, because you are taking care of a spouse. And you may not be actually knowledgeable in how to take care of an individual who's sick, because you are not a doctor, you are not a nurse, and you may find yourself at a corner whereby you don't even know how to handle it, because it is something that is infirmed, that is hitting your spouse or hurting your spouse, but yet you may not know how to handle it. And these are type of things that some pastors are going through, and we may not be aware of. As congregants, what we need to do in this regard is to be able to support our pastor through and through, to be able to be there for them, and so make sure that we support them by all means as well. Because also when we're having a sick spouse, some of the people may expect things from the spouse that the spouse may not be able to do. And this is very common in congregations generally, whereby they're judging spouses of pastors to be performing certain duties in a church or in the congregation that they may not be, because they are sick and they're not well. And the other thing is financial issues, because remember, when this spouse is sick, they're forever going to doctors, they're forever needing medication, they're forever needing treatment as well. And that might actually exhaust the finances of the family of the pastor as well, and become a secondary problem, therefore, because they may not be able to afford the cost of the doctors, the cost of x-rays and medications as well, because medications can get very, very expensive as well. The other thing that is very, very crucial in this regard is you may not be able, as a pastor, to know exactly how your spouse need to be supported. And some of the chores that you may want to support with, it may not be appropriate as well. And sometimes when somebody is sick, they get a bit impatient as well. And because of what they're going through, and they may find or look at it as if they are not supported enough. And that is the reason why in a situation where somebody is going through a sickness of a spouse or a loved one, it becomes very difficult because they're impatient with each other, basically. And sometimes it is an issue of complaints of saying, you're not supporting me, while one wants to support, but yet don't know how to support as well. It is a very difficult situation, and I would love just to urge us to support if our pastor is having a sick spouse, or it is actually us who are having sick spouses as well. We must verbalize and be able to talk about it and seek help where help is needed, where help can be found as well. And that is very, very important that we look at it that way. These are type of battles that our pastors go through. But remember that these are personal matters, these are family matters that one cannot stand on a podium and announce it. But they're going through the tough situations of therefore trying to make sure that they support their spouses by all means. And therefore, a support to them becomes very key. And a support to a pastor becomes very key. A support to the spouse of a pastor becomes very key as well as congregants, because that is the support that they can have from us. And as I said also, that you find that financially they become depleted because of the care that they're going through or the treatments that they're going through. So therefore, even financial help can come handy in this regard if we can, as a congregation, rise and assist in that regard. Now, the second challenge that I want to speak about that is very common that pastors are going through, that congregations may not know about, is what we call personal struggle with sin. And that sometimes when pastors are seen to be these saints and angels, the people that are perfect actually before the eyes of the people. But there are human beings as well, of course, and some would be going through a personal sin or a situation that they cannot be able to shed off. A personal struggle with a specific sin that they may not be able to share with the congregation, of course, that they find it difficult to share with individuals as well, because remember, at a level where a pastor is, it becomes sort of difficult to share some personal issues like struggle with sin to other people. You may not share with friends. You may not share with the congregation. You may not share with the spouse. You may not share with people around you. And therefore, it becomes a challenge. But also, we must also look at it and know that personal sin becomes limiting, because that causes what we call a skeleton in the cupboard. Because most of the time, even when you're supposed to continue with the work of the church, you become limited. It becomes a limitation. It becomes something that hamstrung you, and you cannot actually push some of the work. You cannot address some of the topics. You may not speak to some of the people based on what you're struggling with. And the devil is forever knocking at the door as well, condemning you with the situation that you're faced with. And I want to emphasize, if that is the case, that the pastor is going through that, it is actually very important that you find actually your way of confessing before God. And when you confess before God and be able to conquer that particular sin in your life, please be bold and strong to continue knowing that God has forgiven you. And generally, after you know that God has forgiven you, the main struggle generally is to forgive yourself as well. And that is why many people that have gone through this particular challenge of struggling with a personal sin, even when they are out of it, they don't find it in their ability to forgive themselves. You find that God has forgiven them and they are out of it, but yet they cannot forgive themselves. And they live in the struggle, therefore, of unforgiveness for themselves, and it becomes a burden upon their shoulders. And I want to emphasize this, that it is therefore very, very important. And sometimes things like this, you find that it has come out to the open, and some of the members know what the pastor is struggling with, and really what it does, it actually becomes very embarrassing and condemning as well to the pastor. And this is very important, therefore, that as congregation, as members, we support our pastors by all means. Because remember that when one is down, he cannot kick a man that is down. When somebody has gone through difficulties that may be even in the out and open there, that everybody knows about it, it is therefore very important for us to step in and support and make sure that we lift the men or the women up and support them through and through so that they can be strong and find themselves back on their feet. This is very, very important. And as friends sometimes as well of the pastor, if we are friends and we know what they've gone through, it is very important not to become judgmental against them, to be able to support them through and through so that they can stand back and become strong again. Remember that when one is struggling with a personal sin, it is only God who can forgive. It's only God who can set free. And I advise that as an individual, if you're going through this struggle, it is very, therefore, important that you become transparent to God Himself. Be open to God and confess your sins unto Him so that He can be the one who can forgive you and restore you, because God is a restorer of those that have actually hurt, those that are hurt, those that are broken, those that have fallen down. God is able to restore you. And remember that there's nothing impossible for God. And God is able to forgive you even in the struggles that you've gone through. And sometimes what you go through is a personal struggle of sin. When you conquer it, you are able to actually advise others against it now. Because now you have conquered and you are at a state where you can be able to advise others. So please make use of the opportunity, therefore, of something that you struggled with. When you have conquered it, make it possible for yourself to be able to advise others as well, to be able to walk through the path with others and advise them how do they conquer then that which you struggle to conquer yourself. This is very, very important. And in summary, remember that challenges like this, there are challenges that are not in the open generally, and pastors are going through, and you may not know about this as congregations, but therefore, whenever you, as much as possible, you support your pastors because they are going through rough times as well. And they are not the angels that you think they are. They are not the saints that you think they are. And they are struggling with some situations in their lives. And that is the reason why our pastors need to be supported through and through. And don't isolate them from us as well. Very, very important that we emphasize that. And as pastors as well, I want to encourage pastors out there that whatever you're going through, remember, that is not the end of the road. You might actually be having a sick spouse or an infirm spouse, but this is the time that you ask God to assist you to carry the burden that might be difficult for you. And also, if you're struggling maybe with a personal sin as an individual as well, please approach God, because He's forever ready to forgive us. And when He has forgiven us, therefore we must step forward to forgive ourselves as well and become the strong people that we're supposed to be, and then lead the congregations again. Don't allow the devil to condemn you. Rise up and be the strong person that God expects you to be. I want to end up here today. Your host, Maikona Spokane. Thank you very much for listening to us and be part of this great topic. What a topic that we're having. Troubles, challenges, battles that pastors are going through that may not be known by the congregants. And that's why we deal with this, and we want to help pastors to come out of this. Remember our social media platforms, Maikona Spokane. Please, that's a Facebook page that you need to like, and Church Governance Solutions, like that page as well. Remember our YouTube channel as well, that is in your disposal. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that every single material that we posted there, make use of that. And that will be more helpful for you as well. And you shall be blessed as you go through that. May the good Lord bless you. Allow us to check out right here your host, Maikona Spokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions once more. We are here to restore godly order in the house of the orderly God. Allow us to check out right here and say cheers for now.